These are 10 Harley-Davidsons you were never supposed to see again, but they're still alive today. From forgotten knucklehead projects to one-year-only panheads, from Willie G's Radical Cafe Racer to the mighty Electric Glide, every bike on this list carries history, stories, and soul. Some sparked revolutions, others nearly disappeared, and a few became crown jewels for collectors. Stick with us, because this countdown isn't just about motorcycles, it's about the machines that define generations of riders. Alright folks, let's kick things off with the first bike on our list, the 1969 Harley-Davidson FLH. This one's located in Frederick, Maryland, and it's listed at $19,500. With just a little over 20,500 miles on the clock, it's been well cared for and remains in excellent condition. The FLH models were Harley's top-of-the-line big twins during the 60s, often recognized by their iconic King of the Highway look. By 1969, Harley was still rolling with the panhead loader, right before the Shovelheads started to take over. These bikes were known for their smooth, laid-back cruising style, and they quickly became a favorite among touring riders of the era. Owning one today is like holding onto a piece of that golden age of American motorcycling. This particular FLH has had some important maintenance updates to keep it running strong. It's got a new main wiring harness and a new clutch, both critical for reliability. The seller notes that everything works the way it should, which is exactly what you want to hear when you're looking at a bike that's over 50 years old. What makes this one stand out even more is the pile of original parts and accessories included in the deal. You're not just getting the motorcycle, but also the original clutch if you want it, plus a windshield, a tour pack, luggage rack, and even parts to add a Kickstarter. On top of that, there's a solo seat, the stock seat, extra handlebars and switches, and a chrome dress-up package. Having all those extras is a huge bonus for collectors who want to restore or customize while still keeping things authentic. For collectors, the fact that this FLH comes with both its history and its flexibility makes it a really attractive buy. You can ride it as it is, enjoy the comfort and style that defined Harley touring bikes in the late 60s, or you can piece it back together with all the original gear included in the sale. Either way, it's a motorcycle that holds significant value, both as a rider and as a collectible. So there you have it, a 1969 Harley-Davidson FLH that represents the final years of the panhead era. With low mileage, solid maintenance, and a treasure chest of original parts, it's a true slice of Harley history. Coming in at number 2, we've got a really unique piece of Harley history. The 1971 Harley-Davidson Sportster Ironhead XLH Boat Tail. This one's being offered out of Butler, Pennsylvania for $12,999, and it's showing just under 11,000 miles on the odometer. Now here's where things get interesting. The Boat Tail Sportster was only produced for 2 short years, 1971 and 1972. It was one of the very first designs that Willie G. Davidson had a hand in. At the time, this radical rear fender and seat design wasn't very popular with Harley riders. But today, that same styling has become highly collectible because of its rarity and its link to Willie G's early design career. This XLH model features Harley's legendary 900cc Ironhead V-twin, which puts out about 54 cubic inches of raw, old-school power. It's paired with a 4-speed transmission, and back then you were still getting drum brakes on both the front and rear, which makes it feel every bit like a vintage machine. Other standout details include the distinctive turtle tank on top, which gives the bike its unique silhouette when paired with that sweeping boat tail rear end. According to the seller, this Sportster is mostly original. The only exception is the front fender, which was professionally repainted in the correct Harley-Davidson blue color to match the rest of the bike. Everything else, including that striking boat tail rear section, still wears its factory paint from 1971. That level of originality makes this one especially desirable. The cool part about bikes like this is that they've gone from being overlooked to being recognized as truly significant. Because it was such a short-lived design, surviving examples in good condition are hard to come by. Add in the fact that it's one of Willie G's earliest designs, and you've got a Sportster that's more than just a ride. It's a conversation piece, a collectible, and a snapshot of Harley experimenting with bold styling in the early 70s. So whether you're into quirky Harley designs, rare factory paint, or the history of Willie G. Davidson's early work, this 1971 Sportster Ironhead XLH boat tail checks all the boxes. At under 13 grand, it's a fascinating and affordable entry into the world of collectible Harleys. At number 3, we've got a solid rider that represents Harley's late 70s lineup, the 1978 Harley-Davidson Shovelheads Superglide. This one's listed at just $6,500 out of Mount Airy, Maryland, and it shows about 18,000 miles on the odometer. The Superglide was first introduced in 1971, designed by Willie G. Davidson as Harley's attempt to appeal to younger riders who wanted something stylish but still powered by a big twin motor. By the late 70s, the Superglide had really started to define itself as the bridge between Harley's heavyweight touring bikes and the stripped-down customs that riders were building in their own garages. For many people, the Shovelhead-powered Superglide is one of the most honest expressions of 70s Harley culture. This particular example runs and rides well, according to the seller. It's got matching frame, engine, and title, which is a big plus for authenticity. Recent maintenance includes a set of brand new Michelin tires and a new battery, so it's ready to hit the road. One of the standout features on this bike are the satellite wheels, which give it that classic 70s custom vibe. Now, the beauty of a bike like this is its versatility. At $6,500, it's priced in that sweet spot where it can be both a collectible and a rider. You can keep it as is and enjoy the raw Shovelhead experience, or use it as a canvas for customization, something that was practically the tradition with these bikes back in the day. And because it still carries its original matching numbers, it also retains strong collector value. So, if you're looking for an entry into vintage Harley ownership that's both approachable and packed with history, this 1978 Shovelhead Superglide is a great example. It's affordable, it's authentic, and it embodies the spirit of 70s Harley-Davidson. Up next, at number 4, we've got something a little different, a 1979 Harley-Davidson Custom, registered as an FXE. This one's offered out of Inverness, Florida for $7,000. What makes it stand out is that it's a true period-style custom build with a clear title in the seller's name. The late 70s were a wild time for Harley customization. Riders weren't afraid to experiment. Bigger cams, hotter carbs, solo seats, and custom paint jobs were all the rage. The FX series itself was Harley's attempt at mixing Sportster styling with the big twin frame, and it quickly became a favorite platform for custom builders. This 1979 example captures that spirit perfectly. Now let's talk about what's under the skin. The motor here is a 74-inch Shovelhead that's been bored .50 over, fitted with new rings and a fresh top end. The seller also had the valves lapped and installed all new gaskets, so it's been given a solid refresh. Inside, you'll find solid lifters and a .450 Andrews cam, giving the motor a nice performance boost. Fuel delivery comes through an S&S Super E carb, a go-to upgrade for Shovelhead riders who wanted reliability and better throttle response. On the outside, this bike wears 1955 Harley tank badges and a fresh paint job by Trick Concepts in Inverness. It's also fitted with a Lapera solo seat, stainless steel oil and brake lines, new shocks and struts, and a generous amount of chrome throughout. Tires are in good shape, so it's ready for the road without much extra work. Now, while this bike isn't a factory original collector's piece, it does represent the custom culture that's been inseparable from Harley ownership for decades. For a lot of riders, bikes like this carry just as much history as the untouched originals. They show the creativity, the individuality, and the mechanical passion of the era. At $7,000, it's also a pretty approachable way to get into vintage Harley ownership without breaking the bank. So whether you're into old-school customs or just want a Shovelhead with a little extra personality, this 1979 Harley-Davidson Custom FXE is a great snapshot of 70s Harley culture. It's got the performance upgrades, the period-correct style, and the kind of character that makes custom Harley so special. At number 5, we've got a real treasure for Harley collectors, a 1967 Harley-Davidson Shovelhead. This one's located in Durham, Connecticut, and it's being offered for $25,500. With just 20,000 miles and its original paint still intact, this bike is about as authentic as they come. 1967 was a milestone year for Harley-Davidson because it marked the very first full production year of the Shovelhead engine. The Shovelhead replaced the Panhead and brought improvements in power and reliability, making it one of Harley's most iconic motors. Early Shovelheads like this one are especially sought after because they represent the beginning of a whole new era in Harley history. The standout feature here is that the bike still wears its factory paint in hi-fi green, which is extremely rare to see more than 50 years later. Original paint bikes are always prized by collectors because they show the true story of the motorcycle, the way it left the factory, the way it aged, and the way it was cared for. According to the seller, this Shovelhead starts up and runs exactly as it should, which makes it not just a display piece, but also a functioning classic. Original paint Harleys from the 60s carry a premium because so many of these bikes were customized, repainted, or modified over the decades. Finding one in authentic condition with relatively low miles makes it a very desirable motorcycle for serious collectors. And at just 20,000 miles, this engine hasn't even seen that much road time for its age. So here we have a 1967 Harley-Davidson Shovelhead in hi-fi green with original paint, only 20,000 miles, and running just as it should. It's not just a motorcycle, it's an important piece of Harley-Davidson history representing the very beginning of the Shovelhead era. At number 6, we step back even further in time with a 1954 Harley-Davidson FL Panhead. This survivor bike is located in Tampa, Florida, and the seller is asking $32,000. With its mix of originality and patina, this one is a true time capsule. The Panhead engine was introduced in 1948 and ran until 1965, and during that period, it became one of the most beloved motors Harley ever built. By 1954, Harley had refined the Panhead into a smooth, reliable touring machine. These bikes came with the big 74 cubic inch motor and were often paired with Harley's famous Hydroglide front end, giving them a comfortable, commanding ride. What makes this particular bike stand out is that it's an unrestored original survivor. According to the seller, much of the paint and parts are original to the bike. You'll see some patina somewhere, but that's exactly what makes it so appealing to collectors. It hasn't been over-restored or modified. Instead, it shows the honest history of a Panhead that's been on the road for 70 years. Original Panheads are getting harder to find. Many of them were chopped, customized, or completely rebuilt over the decades. A genuine survivor with this level of originality is the type of machine that collectors hold on to. It tells a story not just of Harley-Davidson, but of the American riders who kept it alive through generations. So there you have it, a 1954 Harley-Davidson FL Panhead, unrestored and authentic, wearing its years with pride. At $32,000 in Tampa, Florida, this isn't just a motorcycle for the road, it's a piece of rolling history. Now we arrive at the crown jewel of this lineup, a 1946 Harley-Davidson Knucklehead, offered out of Butler, Pennsylvania, priced at $31,500. This isn't just another old Harley. This is a Knucklehead, the engine that redefined American motorcycling. Produced between 1936 and 1947, the Knucklehead introduced Harley's first overhead valve V-twin, a 61 cubic inch motor with heavy spherical combustion chambers that set the stage for decades of Harley engineering. Riders of the era had never experienced anything like it. Compared to the flathead engines that came before, the Knucklehead delivered more horsepower, higher compression, and an unmistakable exhaust note that still makes collectors' hearts race today. This particular bike is a 46 model year, which carries special weight in Harley history. Just 1 year after World War II, demand for motorcycles was sky high as returning soldiers sought freedom on two wheels. Harley was still transitioning from wartime production, and every Knucklehead built in the late 40s carried that sense of American resilience and post-war optimism. Now, this bike is being sold as a project, but a very solid one. The motor appears to be rebuilt with .10 over pistons, and while the tanks are missing, the frame, transmission, and connecting rods are all here. The seller stripped away the aftermarket parts and left the bike in raw, honest condition, showcasing its patina, the kind of weathered surface collectors actually prize because it tells a story of decades gone by. The fenders are high-quality reproductions, so you've got a solid foundation whether you want to take it back to factory spec or leave it as a rugged survivor. To put this in perspective, a fully restored 1946 Knucklehead can fetch well over $60,000 at auction. Even basket case projects command respect because they just don't come up for sale often. Harley only built Knuckleheads for 11 years, and many were chopped, raised, or ridden into the ground. Finding a matching case's motor, as this seller believes he has, is like striking gold. Culturally, the Knucklehead is a legend. This was the bike that gave birth to the custom chopper movement. It's the bike seen under outlaw riders in the late 1940s, roaring down back roads with cut-down fenders and tall bars. It's also the motorcycle that cemented Harley-Davidson as more than just transportation. It became a symbol of rebellion, freedom, and American grit. At $31,500, this 46 Knucklehead project isn't cheap, but for serious collectors, this is blue chip iron. It's not just a motorcycle, it's a piece of American history. Next on the list, we shift from post-war Americana to one of Harley's boldest experiments, the 1977 Harley-Davidson XLCR Cafe Racer, offered in Canby, Indiana, with an asking price of $10,500. At first glance, this bike looks nothing like the Harley you picture in your mind, and that was exactly the point. By the mid-1970s, Japanese manufacturers like Honda and Kawasaki were flooding the U.S. market with fast, lightweight sport bikes. Harley-Davidson needed something radical to show they could compete, and so the XLCR was born. Designed by Willie G. Davidson himself, the XLCR, short for Excelsior Cafe Racer, was unlike anything Milwaukee had ever produced. Low-slung, all blacked out, with a racy stance and a fiberglass fuel tank cover that gave it sleek European styling, it looked more at home on the streets of London than in the American Midwest. Underneath, it was built on the Sportster frame, powered by a 61 cubic inch or 1000cc Ironhead V-twin, paired with a 4-speed transmission. The bike rolled on cast wheels, had dual front disc brakes, and a rear, serious hardware for Harley in the 1970s. But while the XLCR had the looks, it didn't have the performance to match the rising Japanese competition. It wasn't the fastest machine on the street, and as a result, sales were painfully slow. In fact, Harley only produced around 3,200 units between 1977 and 1979. At the time, it was considered a flop. Fast forward nearly 5 decades, and that failure has become one of Harley's most collectible bikes of the era. The XLCR is now celebrated as a rare piece of design history, proof that Harley was willing to push boundaries even if the market wasn't ready for it. Today, collectors prize the XLCR for its scarcity, its daring styling, and its direct link to Willie G's design vision. This particular example shows just 19,000 miles, remarkably low for a bike of its age. The seller notes it's one of the most complete XLCRs they've seen in decades, with original components intact and in excellent condition. They even go so far as to say, "You won't be disappointed. No leaks, runs flawlessly." With its deep black finish, angular cafe silhouette, and place in Harley lore, the XLCR stands apart as both an oddball and a legend. At $10,500, it's not just a motorcycle, it's an artifact of a moment when Harley-Davidson tried to reinvent itself and prove it could play in the sport bike world.
Now, we come to another milestone in Harley history, the 1965 Harley-Davidson Panhead, listed in Conover, North Carolina with an asking price of $16,000. On the surface, this bike might look like just another beautifully kept Panhead, but the year 1965 makes it truly historic. Why? Because this was the last year Harley produced the Panhead engine before switching to the Shovelhead. It also marked the first year Harley introduced an electric starter on their big twin models. That meant riders could finally fire up their machines with the push of a button instead of kicking over a stubborn motor. For many, the 1965 Panhead represents the bridge between Harley's post-war heritage and its modern era. Underneath the chrome and steel, this bike carries the legendary 74 cubic inch, 120cc Panhead V-twin, named for its distinctive valve covers shaped like upside-down pans. The Panhead was introduced in 1948 and helped define Harley-Davidson's reputation for style and long-haul reliability. By the mid-1960s, the motor had been refined with aluminum heads, hydraulic valve lifters, and a reputation for smooth, steady power delivery. This particular 1965 Panhead has been updated with SS cases, new wiring, and a fresh exhaust system, making it both roadworthy and reliable. The seller describes it as running great, which is no small feat considering we're looking at a machine that's now 60 years old. From a cultural standpoint, the Panhead is iconic. These were the bikes ridden by the early outlaw clubs, the machines immortalized in countless black and white photos of roadside gatherings and desert runs. Customizers loved them too. The Panhead era gave birth to the early chopper scene, where riders stripped down their bikes to the bare essentials and created a new style that's still alive today. Collectors today look at 1965 as a one-year-only sweet spot. The final Panhead engine, combined with the first electric start, makes it highly desirable, a turning point in Harley's big twin legacy. At $16,000, this example in Conover offers a piece of that history. For enthusiasts, it's not just a motorcycle, it's the last chapter of the Panhead story and the first step into Harley's electric start future.
Closing out the list, we've got a true touring icon, the 1970 Harley-Davidson Electric Glide. Offered in Seffner, Florida, with an asking price of $17,500, the Electric Glide name first appeared in 1965, when Harley introduced the electric starter. By 1970, the Electric Glide had already established itself as the long-distance cruiser of choice for riders who wanted comfort, reliability, and plenty of style on the open road. This bike is all about the miles. Endless highways, big saddlebags, and the steady thump of a V-twin carrying you across the country. Powering this model is Harley's 74 cubic inch Shovelhead engine paired with a 4-speed manual transmission. By 1970, the Shovelhead had already proven itself as the successor to the Panhead, with improved aluminum heads and higher compression, giving riders a bit more horsepower for those highway stretches. What makes this particular Electric Glide stand out is the care and upgrades it's received. The seller lists less than 500 miles on new tires, a fresh SNS carburetor, electronic ignition, and an upgraded charging system, including a new stator and voltage regulator. On top of that, it's had work done on the clutch, sprockets, rear chain, and a brand new battery. In other words, this bike isn't just a showpiece, it's ready to ride. Even better, the sale includes a 2-bike motorcycle trailer, delivery up to 500 miles, and a treasure trove of extra parts. That means the new owner will get everything from the original carburetor and fiberglass saddlebags to the buddy seat, crash bars, exhaust, and even heritage-style leather saddlebags. The seller even includes 2 copies of the original owner's manual and a service manual, all in excellent condition, a rare bonus for anyone who values documentation. Visually, the bike still carries its original paint on the tanks and rear fender, a detail that collectors always look for. Original paint tells a story, a history that restorations sometimes erase. It gives the Electric Glide authenticity, a direct link back to the open roads of the 1970s. Culturally, the Electric Glide is more than just a motorcycle. It's Harley's answer to long-haul American touring. For decades, these machines have been the choice for cross-country riders, club members, and even law enforcement. By the time this 1970 rolled out, the Electric Glide was already becoming a legend. At $17,500, this example represents not only a well-kept classic, but also a fully equipped tourer, one that embodies Harley-Davidson's promise of freedom on the open road. And And there you have it, 10 classic Harley-Davidsons, each with its own story, its own legacy, and its own place in history. From the rugged knuckleheads of the 1940s to the bold cafe racer experiment of the 1970s, these machines remind us that Harley-Davidson has never been just about transportation. It's always been about identity, freedom, and the open road. Which one of these legends caught your eye the most? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this journey through motorcycle history, be sure to stick around because we've got more incredible classics waiting just around the corner.